What was the experience of going cold turkey with the Adderall? Because I'm guessing that wasn't pleasant.
Okay, so it might. I mean, I don't want to assume, but it might not be what you think.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to. I don't remember having withdrawals, but the funny thing was that I couldn't. The alcohol was way harder. Like, Adderall, I took 40 milligrams a day since the time I was like 15 to the time I was like 21. I think I quit the Adderall a year before I quit alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
And that was fine, but the alcohol was way harder. That to me was a spiritual thing. Like it was the hole inside, whereas the Adderall was chemical dependency.
Mm.
And I've heard it described, I've been told that there's a difference between, and I'm not saying this is like science or factual, but there's a difference between being chemically addicted to heroin or like some medication versus being an alcoholic. And as far as what I've seen, if someone is an alcoholic and they don't get sober and they don't do complete abstinence, they will destroy their lives and they won't be able to stop. But people can just go through the withdrawal or get clean off like a narcotic, and they might not. It's not necessarily the same self-sabotaging tendencies.
Interesting. So the Adderall was a different kind of.
It wasn't as bad,
thing.
but here the hard part was I had to relearn how to learn.
Mm-hmm.
So I was so used to, like, I knew how long it was going to take to kick in, and I was so used to like practicing bass a certain way. And in music school, like, you have like pieces you have to perform, like music theory you have to learn, like you got to be able to play piano, you got to have, and then you have gigs at night, and there was just so many things at any given one time my brain would have to learn, and I was like, there's no way, like, how am I going to do this? And so back against the wall, I was like, I have to find a way to make this work. And I know there's a name for this, but I would basically take one subject and I would do it for 20 minutes as concentrated as I could. And then a timer would go off, and then I would switch and I'd do another thing for 20 minutes as concentrated as I could. And then I would probably take a 10 or 15 minute break, and then I would cycle to a third thing, and then I'd repeat. And what I've heard, my theory is just that the peak of actual deep learning, it's like 20 minutes.
Mm.
After that, I don't really think you're learning at that point. And as far as performance goes and music goes, it's not just about working hard, it's about like practicing the right way. Like, I think that's a huge misconception across any endeavor, is that like you can definitely practice wrong. You can definitely, if I told you like, to run into the wall as fast as you could and as hard as you could for as many times as you could, like, that doesn't, just because you can do that doesn't mean it's good.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to be like, okay, perfect practice, like quality. And there was also this thing where like people would brag like, oh, I was in the practice room for like 8 hours. And so I would write down every time I had like a perfect 20 minutes, I'd tally the time. And what I found was 3 total hours of perfect time took me 6 hours to accomplish. And so that was like the great lesson of like it being difficult to come off Adderall. I've heard it's really bad for you to go cold turkey. I don't know, something worse should have happened. I don't know. I also say this, I think that it took my brain chemistry years to like balance out. Like, I think it took like 4 years.
And that was just for you to be able to learn again, or learn
just like
sense.
Be less like emotionally erratic in my head.
Oh, okay.
But the learning thing was, I had to learn in that system, and that was the hardest part. It was almost like the Adderall was a crutch, but I never had withdrawal.
Well, how much were you drinking at that point?
I was really like a weekend warrior,
Mm-hmm.
but it was really like I would say the night's going to go this way, and then it just never did. And I was just the type of dude who would like buy his own bottle of Jameson and like walk into the party and like think it was really cool. and I would be like drinking Jameson in the back of a taxi.
Uh-huh.
Or I would like drinking and I would like a bottle of Jameson to myself. Like it was Philly, so everybody drank like PBR. So it was like a 6-pack of the tall boy PBRs. Like I could do that myself, and I'm like, if I just drink this much, I'll be good. And then inevitably I would like finish that and do shots. But yeah, so it'd be scenarios like that, and then I would just like black out and do crazy stuff.